Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Hope you're all well. Welcome to the Dram share stream. Trying to do something different tonight. Well, trying to make whiskey more accessible to people. That's the plan tonight. So all the fancy whiskies behind me can forget about them tonight. We are going for affordable whiskey. That is the plan. Affordable. So bottles of whiskey under £35. And actually, I think these three tonight are potentially all under £30. No, last one is almost £35. So yeah, affordable whiskies. That is the name of the game tonight. As you can imagine, they're not all single malts. They are mainly blends, but the last one is a single malt. But we're going to start with the cheapest and work our way slowly up the price range. But the first two are very much the same price-wise. So you can see the one I've got next to me here, Black Bottle, a bloody good blend, and very affordable as well. It is £18 to £20 for a full-size bottle of this really good. Well, it's all Islay whiskies that goes into Black Bottle. Now you might think, oh, it's going to be peaty, it's going to be smoky. It's not, because the majority of the single malt that goes into Black Bottle is Bunnahabhain, which is a really nice, quite a mellow but rich Islay single malt. So Black Bottle, if somebody says to me, name me a good blended whiskey, I'll almost always say Black Bottle as the first suggestion. It's not a really well known blend. You do sometimes see it in the supermarkets, but if most people think about blends, they'll think about Famous Grouse, Bell's, maybe Johnny Walker, Jameson's, that sort of stuff. But for me, Black Bottle is tough to beat. I'm trying to remember when I first tried Black Bottle. I think I bought one. It was on offer in the supermarket, and I thought that is a bloody good price for a blended whiskey in quite a nice bottle. It was the old shape bottle. They've changed the shape of the bottle. It used to come in a bottle the same shape as the old Pulteney bottle. I don't know if old Pulteney maybe told them, hey, your bottle's very similar to our shaped bottle, change it. They possibly did. But they changed this bottle a few years back to this shape, which is quite unusual. It's a sort of flat, wide, very bourbon-esque sort of bottle, I would say. Very bourbon-esque. Yeah, gave it a try. Fell in love with it. A cracking whiskey for the price, £18 to £20. You cannot go wrong. It's brilliant. Hello, Real Waterkiller. How are you getting on? Good to see you again. It's been a while since I've been on the stream. I'm trying to think when was the last time I was on. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I possibly streamed, or it might have been 3. But life's been getting in the way. Grass needs cut, hedges need cut, the bike needs to be ridden. So last weekend I was on the bike and did a 25-mile ride cross country. So I was cream crackered this time last week. I think I was probably already in bed. But this weekend had a slightly easier weekend. Cut the grass, cut the hedges this morning, and then went to the local pub called the Black Isle Bar, where they make cracking pizzas and serve amazing beer. So that was this afternoon. So I hit a bit of a lull late afternoon, and then I'm back up again now. I'm on the way up, just in time for the stream. So, but yeah, good to see you again, Real Waterkiller. Good to see you back, enjoying hopefully the stream. So yeah, you might have missed it. I was just sort of explaining what we're going to be doing tonight. We are exploring affordable whiskies, so good quality whiskies with a lower price tag. So good ones to maybe start off on if you're new to whiskey. So like I said, black bottle, 18 to 20 pounds for the whole bottle. For a full size 70, 700 ml, 70 centiliter bottle. It's 40% bog standard, blended whiskey especially bog standard, and most single malts are 40%. So 80 proof if you're in America. It was relaunched in 2013, and it was inspired by the 1879 style. So this was the rebrand. Must have been 2013 they did the rebrand. Black Bottle was established in 1879. It says there. I'll read this. It says, Gordon Graham and Co. was established in 1879 with the creation of the Black Bottle, made from a secret family recipe. The unique character of the original blend can still be savoured to this day. So that is a little inscription you've got around the top of the bottle. And I do really like this bottle because, like I said earlier on, it's quite bourbon sort of style, and it's in the shape of the bottle. Quite looks a bit like, I think, is it Bullet bourbon potentially, or Buffalo Trace? Buffalo Trace is a round bottle. I think it's this Bullet one. I can't remember the name of it exactly, but it's got a similar shaped bottle, so looks a bit like bourbon. Jet black bottle, like you can just about see through the bottle if you put it up to the light. It's a brown glass, but an extremely dark. Glenfiddich got one of the best bottles in my opinion. Yeah, it's quite nice, that triangular shape. It's got shorter over the years, I think, isn't it? It's more stout now. It's a bit more sort of wide shoulders, narrows down to the bottom, triangular. Pretty classic. Feels good in the hand. Definitely feels good in the hand. But yeah, no, this is a good bottle, and it's got this lovely big bold it's not inscription. It's like molded into the glass. Established 1879. That's quite bold. That's big numbers. And on the back, it's got distilled, blended, and bottled Gordon Graham and Co. Limited on the back there. That's sort of punched into the glass. It's quite nice. So you've got that sticking out, and then that's punched into the glass. So they've thought quite a bit for this. They've thought quite a bit about the design of the bottle, and I don't know what the original 1879 bottle looked like, but I'm assuming it was something similar to this, because it does have that old-fashioned sort of style. And then the label, you can see the label's really quite old-fashioned, but quite classy. It just looks good. You're getting a lot of interesting features here for 18 to 20 pounds a bottle. That's not too bad. Blended Scotch whisky. Curiously rich and slightly smoky whisky, crafted to a secret family recipe. That's what it says on the front there. So it's known for its balanced mix of fruitiness and spice along the peaty Islay notes. So like I said, all Islay whiskies. You've not seen this one, Real Watercolour. I can't remember where you are. You're not in the UK, are you? Or are you on the continent? I can't remember. I think you might be in the UK. I'm trying to remember. When it comes to the bottles, Maker's Mark and Crown Royal are unique too. Yes. I've got another interesting... I thought we would get onto the discussion of bottles tonight, so I've got an interesting one here. A bit of a blast from the past. Dimple. That's an interesting bottle. Dimple are well known for this shape of bottle, as triangular with a dimple. You're in Germany, yeah, so you would probably not have seen the black bottle. But I would highly recommend it if you fancy buying a not too expensive blended whiskey that's really easy to enjoy. A lot of your friends are probably going to like it if they like whiskey. It's a real crowd pleaser. So like I said, all Islay whiskies in here, but the majority, the highest percentage in the blend is Bunnahabhain, which is quite a easy to drink Islay. I really enjoy Bunnahabhain. It's quite rich. Maybe got a slight smoky note to it, but not very much at all. But yeah, it's a good one. Let's pour it out. So, being a blended whiskey, being on the cheaper end of the scale, you're going to have a screw top, which is to be expected. Absolutely. Actually, because it's come from Islay, I will put it in an Islay nosing glass, the one from Carolila. So the whiskey feels a little bit at home. Something quite nice about these metal screw tops. I don't know. The next one's got a metal screw top as well. So now have a look at this for colour. How is that for colour? Beautiful. Really nice. I've not actually got a description of the colour of this whiskey, so let's get the colour chart out. Let's get the colour chart on. If you go on to the Dram Share Facebook page and have a look on there, there's quite a few posts that I try and keep relatively up to date. I don't promise to keep it absolutely up to date, but what you should find there is a colour chart, which is also readily available online. So whiskies.co.uk, I got this chart off there, so quite like using this. You'll see it's got all the descriptions of the different colours there, so I will try and identify. This is sort of tawny auburn, so just for your, I'll put my finger about there, I would say. So tawny auburn, you can see it there. That's what I would say the colour of this whiskey is, tawny auburn. So it's on the darker end of the scale, very much on the darker end of the scale. Quite a dark whiskey. Looks delicious. Looks very tempting in the glass. It's got a lovely rich colour. Just, yeah, looks good. I'm fully, I don't know for a fact, but I'm fully expecting this whiskey to have colorants in it. Colorants added, which is fine. You know, we're not looking for an absolute pure whiskey here. After all, it's a blend. But you know, if you gave somebody a glass of this in a plain glass, and they looked at it and they smelt it, I think they would guess that it was going to cost more than £18 to £20. That would be my guess, is that people would say, oh yes, you know, they'd probably say, oh, it's an Islay. Oh, you know, maybe Bunnahabhain 18, Bunnahabhain 12, which, you know, the Bunnahabhain 12-year-old is going to set you back at least 40, potentially £45. The Bunnahabhain 18 is going to set you back £65, £70. But I think most people that know whiskey would straight away say it's from Islay. It's got that smell of Islay whiskey. But then the notes on the nose, sort of polished oak, a bit of sort of cut grass. Now I don't know if that's because I was cutting the grass today, so I've maybe got that smell in my nose from earlier on, but that real subtle smoke. There is a subtle hint of smoke in this. Like brown demerara sugar. And sort of like a sort of porridgey or sort of oats sort of notes coming through. That's a real noseful. A real noseful in the glass. You get a real good... You know, it's quite a complex smelling whiskey, so that's where I was saying that people are probably going to sort of guess, oh, something quite high end. or at least a single malt, a decent single malt. I think if they just did a blind smell test, that's what I'd say. But no, looks lovely in the glass. It's got quite good legs. If you give it a minute, the legs start to develop. Pretty even legs. I don't know if you can see it there. I'll try and show you. See the legs in the glass there. Pretty evenly distributed. Ooh, quite well formed. So it's got a bit of oiliness to it, which is always a good thing. Right, let's give it a wee taste. It's quite subtle to start off with. Quite subtle. The first sort of taste you get from it is like candied ginger. Real sort of ginger type of taste. And then most of the flavours come in quite quick thereafter. Like golden syrup. So you get the candied ginger, then it goes into sort of like golden syrup, sort of brown bread sort of flavour. Quite like a little bit malty. And even just a slight sort of chocolatey notes, like a chocolate spread or something. But one thing I must say is it doesn't last a hell of a long time. Like there's still flavour there, but it falls away pretty quick. So you get that initial flavour of sort of ginger, then you get these malty, chocolatey, sort of golden syrup flavours, and then it falls away pretty quick after that. So don't get a lot of bang for your buck with this whiskey, but the flavour's still there. So I would say the finish is long, but the initial punch of flavour is relatively short. That's what I would say on this one. But really, really enjoyable to drink. Really just, you just want to keep drinking it. It's lovely. You got your friends into Bowmore 12 Club. Jameson's Black Barrel in their lives as well. I've never tried this Jameson's Black Barrel, but I've heard of it. You might be yourself that you was telling me about it. I've got a bottle of Jameson's in the house. It's like a litre bottle, actually. Got given it as a gift. And that's good. Bowmore 12 is a cracking whiskey. Really good. I like Bowmore. Obviously, again, an Islay whiskey, so there'll be a smidgen of Bowmore most likely in this whiskey. My favourite is the Bowmore 15. I think it's described as the Bowmore 15 Darkest. I had a bottle a few years back, but I finished it a long time ago. And yeah, really, it is a dark coloured whiskey with lots of sherried sort of notes in it. But yeah, Bowmore 12 is a good whiskey, really good. After Bunnahabhain on Islay, I would probably then go Bowmore. And dead last for me would be Laphroaig. I just can't stand Laphroaig, which annoys me a little bit because it's got the three feathers, the Welsh feathers on the bottle. Because obviously I think it's I don't know, Prince Charles has got some sort of connections to it, but just don't enjoy Laphroaig at all. But Lagavulin a good one. But yeah, Laphroaig can't do it. Ardbeg 2PT, Burichladdich 2PT. There's a few other ones as well. Caolila, obviously, the glass that I've got here, Caolila. Again, quite peaty on the upper scale for me, Caolila. But I could drink it. But yeah, Ballantine's got like a super bad finish. You drink it and you will be done right away. So Ballantine's got a super bad finish. Like bad, or do you mean that as good? You drink it and you will be done right away. I can't work out if that's good or bad. Real. I've never tried that Ballantine's, but I've seen it. It's got that sort of squiggly writing, isn't it? This is lovely though. But you can tell, I feel like Bowmore is super underappreciated in the whiskey community. Ardbeg and Lafroig are in the main focus. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Bowmore, you don't hear too much about Bowmore, but I would think that their supporters and the people who like Bowmore are very, very, vocal in their own circles. A bit like you. You've obviously convinced your friends. Oh, I see. Yes, I know what you mean. So yeah, the flavour of Valentine's it's just gone. You swallow it and it's gone. Yeah, no flavour, just like drinking alcoholic water. Well, you've convinced your friends to join the Bowmore 12 Club. So good on you for introducing people to your favourite whiskey. Lafroig, yeah, I don't know how Lafroig gets so much attention because it's not that good. But then again, I'm saying it's not that good, but some people obviously love it. Otherwise, the distillery would have gone down the Swanee by now. But there's other ones. There's other whiskies on Islay which are better. I would, in my opinion, them being Bowmore, Bunnahabhain, Lafroig, Lagavulin, sorry, Caol but yeah, Ardbeg, that gets a lot of attention because it's such a big peat giant. And there's so many people that love peaty, smoky whiskies. Yeah, I agree. Real Lafroig 10 and quarter cask are way too smoky. Absolutely, too smoky. Way too much peat. Tastes like you're drinking something that belongs in a hospital, like an antiseptic. It smells like antiseptic. But some people love that, and good on them. You never know. Someday we might get to the stage where we're drinking nothing but Lafroig and Ardbeg and Buachladach. You've never had Caol. Yeah, now Caol is quite an unknown, but not an unknown, quite a underappreciated distillery. It is a part of the classic malts, owned by Diageo, so owned by a big company. Doesn't get a lot of attention. I think it's because it is quite an acquired taste, Caol. It's quite peaty, it's quite smoky, but it's smooth with it, if that makes sense. Like there's real quality in the whiskey. If you ever get a chance, try I think it's the 12 or the 14-year-old. I can't remember what their standard release is, but give it a try. It's a really good quality whiskey, but get ready for some pretty serious peat and smoke that comes with it. I can just about drink it. It's really right there on the upper end of my scale for peaty smokiness. But no, it's a good one. Give it a try. I've not got a bottle in my collection because, yeah, I don't particularly enjoy peaty, smoky whiskies. But when I do get onto them eventually, someday, in my whiskey tasting career, that'll probably be the first peaty whiskey I'll go out and buy is Caol. Campfire, yes, aye, that's right. Absolutely. So let's put some water with this whiskey, see if it makes any difference. Well, actually, I didn't really talk about the finish of this whiskey. So that ginger's there, golden syrup, bready, sort of malty notes, a little bit chocolatey. And let's see what the finish is. It's got a little bit of spice, just a little tingle on the tongue, which is really quite pleasant. It's like oakiness, oak spice, that must come from the casks. And actually quite a lot of sweetness. Yes, absolutely agree. Lagavulin 16 is delicious. Yeah, okay. If you don't like the taste, it doesn't taste like you've like eaten a piece of ginger straight. It's just got a hint of ginger. But no, if you don't like ginger, it might not be for you. It's a no-no. It's a no-no for you. If you absolutely despise the taste of ginger, maybe no. Right, bit of water with my pipette, as I always do. So it's controlled. 1 drop, 2 drops. 2 drops will do. Like I said, it's 40% this whiskey, so it's not very strong. So don't put too much water in with it. Just a couple of drops. Ooh, it smells sweeter on the nose now. So let's just tone down that little hint of smoke. And all you're really getting now is this sort of cut grass. The sugary notes. And that bit of sort of polish, like furniture polish coming through. So it smells, overall it's sweet on the nose. Even before the water, it was mainly sweet. Just with a hint of smoke. Oh, hello, it's Mia. Thank you for the follow. Thank you very much. Welcome to Dram. Sit down, make yourself comfortable. And if you've got a whiskey nearby, pour yourself a wee whiskey. A wee Dram. So, definitely sweeter on the nose. Let's see what it tastes like. Much more mellow. Overall, it's toned everything down. Just those 2 drops of water has toned it right down. So you're still sort of getting, probably not really getting the hello saucedo. I'm just going to call you Sauce. Hello, Sauce. Welcome to the stream. I don't think I've seen you here before. Good to have you on board. If you've not followed, feel free to follow if you would like, so you get notifications next time I'm on, which is, I try and stream once a week, but just recently it's been like once every 3 weeks. My fault. Yeah, that water's dulled it right down. So a good one if, let's say, you've got somebody coming into the house that wants to try whiskies but not too sure, I would say give them a little bit of black bottle, a couple of drops of water in it straight away, and I think they'll get into it. I think without the water, they wouldn't be into it. It's not a beginner's whiskey without water. That's what I'd say about this. But yeah, it's dulled the sort of, made the smell sweeter, dulled the flavours down. I'm good, Mia. How are you? Thank you very much again for the follow. Much appreciated. Good to have you with us. Good to see new people coming onto the stream. It's great. If you've not checked out my Facebook page, just type in Dramshare on Facebook and you should find the same icon as my Twitch icon. And I try and update that every now and then. Put a few posts on, a few pictures of what I'm drinking. And I put on when I'm going to be on stream, so it's a good place to try and see what's coming up. So I try and put a post on there a few hours, maybe 6 or 7 hours before the stream, just so people have got a chance to plan if they want to. The finish of the whiskey with this little bit of water, it's still got that spiciness on at the finish. Still quite sweet, but has got that little bit of oak spice on the tongue, which is really pleasant, really nice. I could drink this whiskey all night. This is one of these whiskies that I could just sit down and just enjoy for the rest of the night. Easy. Dead easy. Really good one. I can't rave on about Black Bottle enough. Henny. So Henny is a type of brandy, as far as I'm aware. Hennessy? Henny? Am I right? I think it's brandy. I do like brandy. I've got into brandy probably in the last year, got into brandy. Really nice. Like, Brandy, I find brandy a little bit more accessible than whiskey day to day. If you fancy a drink, I'm probably more likely to go for my brandy than I am my whiskey. I've got to sort of be in the right mood for whiskey. I think that's why I sometimes don't stream every weekend, because some weekends, even I don't fancy a whiskey. So, it's not something I drink every day, definitely not. But if I'm going to go to the cupboard and go for a drink towards the end of the day, and I fancy something on the strong side, brandy would be the one. Now, I think Henny is Hennessy. I think I'm right in saying that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I've never tried it. I've tried a few different brandies. You've got Remy Martin, Martel, Courvoisier. What else have I tried? A few other unusual ones. I got miniatures once. One was called, I think it was called Manx or something, or Mac. Oh, I can't remember. But love brandy. Obviously, with brandy, the really important thing, cognac. Cognac and brandy. I had this discussion with somebody a while back on here, and they said cognac and brandy are two different things. I think it could be with like a little bit like champagne and sparkling white wine. It's called different things because it's made in different places potentially. I don't claim to be an expert on any drinks actually, especially not brandy. So it could be cognac, it could be brandy. Both might be the same thing. They might be completely separate, but they're very much the same drink, and I think they're made in the same process. But yeah, I know in America, you might be in America, cognac is what you call brandy. You rarely hear cognac being used in the UK. It's usually just called brandy. So I think it's the same thing. But yeah, great. Brandy, cognac. One of the main things you want to do is you want to try and drink it out of the proper glass. You don't really want to use a glass like this. It's a little bit too small. It isolates the whiskey from the heat of your hands. People tend to hold this glass bulb at the bottom, which means you're not actually warming the glass that the whiskey's sitting in. Brandy glasses are designed in a way that you hold them like this in your hand, and the idea is that your fingers will warm up the brandy. And it's like with any drink, if you warm it up, you're going to get more smells out of it. You're going to get more of the flavours out of the drink. So I've got a couple of brandy glasses. I'll not get them just now, but they are essentially a big bowl with a thin stem down to a foot. And the idea is that you put the glass into your hand like that, swill it around. You see a lot of brandy drinkers doing this, walking around like this. That's a brandy drinker. That's the idea. Warm it up. If I've got the fire going in the house and it's quite warm in the living room, I'll tend to go for the brandy because I know the fire's going to warm up my drink. I'm going to get loads of smells and loads of flavour out of it. Hello, Red Rover. Got any bourbon? Yes, I do. I've got one bourbon, actually. Rocktown from Arkansas. Brought to me by a colleague who's from Arkansas. Did a stream on that a while back. It'll be long gone by now. But I've just recently started saving my streams onto YouTube. Which I should have been doing from the get-go, because eventually they all disappeared. And I realised pretty quick that once they're gone, they're gone. So there must have been about 20 odd streams I had on Twitch that were gone. But it means I can go through them all again and save them onto YouTube. So same again, go onto YouTube, type in Dram Share, you should find me. You'll see the streams for the last, I don't know, since about end of last year I started saving them onto YouTube. But bourbon, I do like bourbon. It's obviously a little bit stronger. It's got a bit more flavour. Punches you in the mouth a wee bit more than whiskey. But no, like bourbon. So I'll maybe do a stream on bourbon sometime soon. Maybe try and treat myself to one that you get in the supermarkets, like Buffalo Trace or Maker's Mark is one I hear is quite good. What's your opinion, Red Rover? What's your favourite? But like I said, I could drink this all night. This is really good. And again, I'll say it again, 18 to 20 pounds for the bottle. Now the price might have changed a bit since I wrote these notes, but you're looking at £20 in that region. £20, £20 note gets you this bottle of whiskey and quite a lot of really good quality whiskey. So it's good stuff. Really nice. Brandy generally refers to a distilled spirit made from fermented fruit juice. Cognac, meanwhile, must be made from wine grapes. Now, I thought brandy got made out of grapes. I was pretty convinced of that, but you must have got that from somewhere. So, but yeah, cognac, meanwhile, must be made from white grapes. Okay, white grapes. Distilled spirit made from fermented fruit juice. I don't know, brandy. Tell you what, I've got a bottle of brandy. Let's investigate. Give me a second. I'll bring back one of my brandy glasses so you can see. Right, I'm back. So we're good. Get comfortable again. We'll go. So that's black bottle, £20 a bottle. Go for it. Memorise this. Good blended whiskey. So brandy, cognac, Courvoisier. Mia, proper 12. Tried it. This is Conor McGregor's blended whiskey, Irish blended whiskey from Ireland. A good blend for somebody who's wanting to get into whiskey. I found it a little bit too not mild. What am I trying to say? It lacked, unusually, lacked a bit of a punch. Seeing as Conor McGregor's whiskey, it lacked a bit of a punch. It was quite, what I would describe it as, it's quite hollow. You're drinking whiskey, but it's like it's got no heart. It's got no substance. You drink it and you're like, where's the flavour? Where's the depth? So proper 12 for me, my scale of 1 to 5, which actually I need to do for the black bottle before I go off the subject. Conor McGregor's proper 12, I would seriously only give it a 2 out of 5. That's, and that's being generous. On the other hand, black bottle, which I just had a look at, would easily get a 4 out of 5. Easily. Because it's a blended whiskey, which actually drinks almost like a single malt, and it's very affordable. So for that fact, I would give it a 4 out of 5. Brandy can be from grapes, but it can be made out of other fruits. Okay, that's fine. But obviously, yeah. Well, see this says cognac on it. You see that on the bottle, cognac. So it says here. It says. It doesn't actually say how it's made. It just says Courvoisier has been the toast of Paris since 1889. This VSOP, which I think stands for very special. I don't know what the OP stands for. I thought I did. Very special old something? No. Somebody find out. VSOP. Is an exquisitely balanced cognac with elegant and exuberant aromas of peach, jasmine, and toasted almond. I'm falling behind with the chat here. Angel's Envy or Four Roses are solid choices for more affordable bourbons. Oh, okay. Angel's Envy and Four Roses. I'll remember that. Good comparison of mid-high bourbons would be Buffalo Trace versus Blanton's, if you get your hands on them, since both are from same distillery. Well, Buffalo Trace, I know I can get hold of that in the supermarket. Blanton's might have to be an online purchase. So no, thanks for that, Red Rover. I'll get a look into that and see about doing a bit of a. Well, if I got those two, that would give me 3 bourbons. I've got my Rocktown, which I think is quite a small distillery in Arkansas. Buffalo Trace, Blanton's. I'm quite keen to try Maker's Mark because I've heard quite good things about Maker's Mark. Has anybody heard of what's his name? Oh, Sauce has got the things on the go, the emojis. My only emoji. Thanks for using that. It's meant to look, well, it does look like a glass with some whiskey in it. Jason Brown, the guy off Last Chance U, he's developed his own whiskey. He's got his own cigars. He's written a book. And I was listening to a podcast, and he was being interviewed on the podcast, and he basically said he was always a Maker's Mark drinker, and he basically said to the people, right, make it better than Maker's Mark. Now, Maker's Mark has been going for hundreds of years, and he just said, right, blend me a better whiskey than Maker's Mark. So, yeah. And he apparently is quite happy with the results. So, but yeah, brandy glass. There's my brandy glass. So you can see big bowl, thin stem, put your hand in there, and your hand warms up the brandy. So that's my brandy glasses, which I'm quite proud of because they're actually Caithness glass and Caithness crystal, I should say. And you can always tell crystal by that nice ring. So yeah, that's a good brandy glass. Probably quite thick, actually quite heavy. Mainly because it's made out of crystal, but yeah, that's the sort of shape you're looking for a nice brandy glass. Quite small opening, directs all the smells up towards your nose, but yeah, plenty of side area there. You want the drink to be quite spread out. You don't want it to be in a narrow, tall glass. You want the drink to be spread out so it gets to interact with the air. It's a bit like wine. I think with wine, you're not meant to pour wine past the widest point in the glass. You're meant to stop at the widest point so it's got the most surface area to interact with the air. So same idea, I think, with brandy. But yeah, so there you go. Brandy and brandy glass. We're multi drinks this stream. But let's get back on the whiskey. Now the next whiskey is a local whiskey made a stone's throw away from where I'm currently sitting. If it was daylight, I'd probably see the distillery from the house. It is this Nevis Dew. Nevis Dew is a blended whiskey made by the Ben Nevis Distillery. And you've got a little picture of Ben Nevis just here with a distillery just there. Ben Nevis Distillery is in Fort William, where I am currently sat. Established in 1825 by Long John MacDonald. Don't ask me who Long John MacDonald is, but he was probably from around these parts. It's currently owned by the Nikka Whiskey Distilling Company from Tokyo, Japan. They've owned it since 1989, which is, if I'm right, is 32 years. Because that's 1 year less than I've been on the earth. Capacity, I just made some notes here. This is from a while back. Capacity is 2 million litres a year. Oh, I like you guys using all these. I'll have my own whiskey glass with some whiskey in it in a minute. But I like you guys using these what are they called? Emojis. That's good. You won't believe how long it took me to get that thing put together. So it's good to see people using it. Cheers. It's got 2 wash stills and 2 spirit stills. So the likes of Old Pulteney, for example, has only got 1 wash still and 1 spirit still. So it gives you an idea. Production, quite high production. A lot of Ben Nevis Distillery's whiskey goes into blends, but they do have a couple of their own releases, such as the Nevis Dew Special Release. They also have a Nevis Dew Blue Label. So the water is sourced from the foothills of Ben Nevis. The water that goes into this whiskey comes from, well, the water comes off of Ben Nevis, or the hills around Ben Nevis. So it's local whiskey to here. So our water should go well with this whiskey, because they say that you should only put the local water into your whiskey. So the water that was used to make the whiskey should be the one that gets put into the whiskey to dilute it. Now, you can't obviously go around making sure you've got a store of all the different waters from all these different distilleries behind me. That's just stupid. But we are lucky here that we have the water, or the local water. It's probably not the same source. Like, our drinking water probably comes from a reservoir up the road somewhere, or wherever, or a borehole down the road. But it's all been around the same sort of geology, come off the same sort of hills and vegetation, so it should be similar water. They do have a single malt. It's a 10-year-old single malt. That's the only real, or the main single malt they've got available. I've never really tried it. I've never bought a bottle of it, and I've never tried it out and about. But this is their most common whiskey they sell. The Nevis Dew Special Release. Sorry, Special Reserve. Special Reserve. It is 40%. And yeah, it comes in this real classic blended whiskey bottle, I would say. Really classic blended whiskey bottle shape. Looks a little bit like the Bell's sort of bottle. It's got a lot of writing on the back. I'll maybe read a little bit of this to you just now. As part of the Scottish Whisky Regulations 2008, it is no longer possible for us to refer to our blend as Dew of Ben Nevis, unless all the constituent parts of the blend have been produced at the distillery. As our Special Reserve blend contains not only Ben Nevis malts, but also grain and malt whisky from other distilleries, we have had to rebrand this and most of our other blends at Nevis Dew. So there's a little bit of a description there why it's called Nevis Dew and not the Dew of Ben Nevis. So that's quite interesting. We believe that the Dew of Ben Nevis name originated when Donald P. MacDonald sold his malt whisky under the brand name of Long John's Celebrated Dew of Ben Nevis, sometime around the mid-1800s. Despite a change in name, and this is the only change, you can be assured that the whisky contained within the bottle is exactly the same award-winning blend as before. So really, no information about what it tastes like, no information about what to expect or how it's made, just describing why it's called the Nevis Dew, which is fine. It is what it is. Price-wise, £20. Simple as that, £20. Sure, I saw something fly past the window there. £20, pretty good price. Pretty good price. So yeah, let's pour it into the glass like you guys have got on the old emojis. Again, it's a screw top, metal screw top. You can hear it, quite cheap, but you get what you pay for. You know, when you buy a bottle of single malt whiskey that's costs you £85, you don't expect to have cheap materials and things feeling cheap. You pay £20, you expect £20. Do you know what I mean? So it's okay. We'll let it off for the cheapiness because it's cheap. It's £20. It's nothing. So quite a bit lighter than the black bottle. You can see that colour there. Amber to deep gold is the description of this colour. Amber to deep gold, which, yeah, deep gold, I wouldn't say so. I would just say gold personally, but yeah, amber to deep gold is what it's described as. So quite a little bit lighter, bit more natural looking possibly. It does say it includes grain whiskies. Now, grain whiskies do tend to be on the lighter side than malt whiskies. Don't ask me why. I don't know. Ooh, very different on the nose. It's quite fragrant, quite floral, and rich. Really quite a rich smell. Like that would probably put a beginner off. If they smelt that, they'd be like, oh no, that smells too strong. But yeah, nice, nice floral, rich notes. Quite malty, with a little bit hint of smoke. Maybe a slight hint of peat. And sort of sweet honeyness and bit of spiciness. Yeah, it's quite lively in the glass on the nose, to be honest. Quite lively. So let's see what the legs are doing. So can you see the legs? Let's see some legs there. Quite a few legs. Quite good. So quite oily. I do like to have a good old smell of my whiskey. You might have noticed. So I'm a great believer that if you smell your whiskey, it improves the flavour. You've got that smell in your nose, and then when you because a lot of taste is smell. That's why obviously you close your nose when you're taking your horrible medicine, because you'll not taste it as much. So if there was a way of smelling the whiskey whilst I was drinking it, suppose I could just go. It's quite difficult to do. So this is a bit rough around the edges. It's not as well rounded as Black Bottle. Although, yeah, it's a bit rough around the edges, but it's quite balanced. It's not a certain flavour or a muddle of flavours. It sort of knows what it is and it's there. And the flavour sort of stays quite a while. But yeah, it's quite balanced. There's definite toffee notes in it. It's quite toffee on the sweet side. Quite fudgy. It's definitely sweet. It's definitely a sweet whiskey. Not really getting any peat, because there was definitely a hint of peat on the nose. It's maybe just ever so slightly, just a hint of peat. But it's mainly these toffee, sort of fudgy, sweet notes. But the reason I said at the start there that it's quite rough around the edges is, I think it's because it's got quite a bit of spiciness to it. Yeah, actually, the more I'm drinking it now, the more my mouth's getting used to it, and I'm enjoying it more. It's not feeling as rough around the edges now. It feels a lot more well-rounded. But it definitely has a little tingle of spice on the tongue towards the end. It's quite a long finish, which is good. £20. Your £20 is going to go a long way, because you're not going to have to drink lots of this whiskey to have that flavour. And then it just sort of peters away, just disappears slowly off the tongue. It's quite nice. Yeah, toffee, fudgy, sweet, a little bit of spice. For a £20 whiskey, it's not bad at all. It's really quite good. Sorry, my whiskey went down the wrong way a little bit there. I'm going to put some water with it now. 1, 2 little drops of water. See if that makes any difference. So let's see if it's changed the smell of the whiskey. It's still pretty fragrant and rich. Still quite a lot of hot honey sweetness coming through. And that hint of peat still there. And there is a little bit of smokiness. If there's a smell of peat in your whiskey, you're most likely going to pick up smoke as well. Because the way they introduce peat flavours and smells to the whiskey is by sort of either drying the barley over a peat fire, which is rarely done these days. Actually, not many distilleries do that. That's the old-fashioned way of doing it, and that's how they used to get peaty, smoky notes into the whiskey, was by using dried peat to stoke the fire that dried the barley. These days, distilleries actually specify how much peat the barley is introduced to at the, what is it called, where they process the barley. The barley comes in big lorries straight from a farm, then it gets sort of processed, and maltings, I think they call them maltings, and then what they do is they malt the barley, or they process it, dry it, introduce as much peat as the customers asked for. Now some customers like Ardbeg, these big peat giants, they'll be right on the upper scales of peatiness with their barley, whereas the likes of Bunnahabhain, even some of the Speyside whiskies do have a hint of peat, but that all comes from the maltings. Some people used to think that if the water that went into the whiskey was going through particularly peaty ground, it would pick up peat flavours in the water. But I can tell you that I've drank water straight out of a peaty sort of burn, or a stream. It's called a burn in Scotland, and it doesn't taste anything like peat. So I can't see that being the case at all. And some smokiness comes from the barrel as well, where the barrel's been toasted. But yeah, if you've got a peaty note in the whiskey, you're most likely going to have a smoky note as well, because it's through, that malting process of introducing the peat is where you sort of get that smokiness. So yeah. So yeah, I don't think I've tasted this with the water yet, have I? I'm too busy going on about peat and smoke there. Oh, that's quite nice actually. It's brought it all down a notch and makes it a lot lighter. This is what water normally does with most whiskies. You put a little bit of water and it just sort of dulls it down. There are a few whiskies out there you put water in and it actually opens the whiskey up. They're usually your more higher end single malt whiskies. You put a bit of water in and it's just like, whoa, where did this come from? With blended whiskies, normally you put a bit of water in and it just dulls it down. I think the only one I remember that does the opposite is Monkey Shoulder. Monkey Shoulder is a good blend, and it's quite complex. I think if you add water with that, it does actually get stronger. But most blends, because they're blends, they've already been quite well watered down. It's not a particularly complicated sort of flavour or aroma structure. It tends to deal with water a bit better, and you know if you're going to put water with a blend, it's going to make it lighter. It's going to bring everything down. And that's what's happening here. That's what happened with the black bottle. That's what's happening with Nevis Dew. It's just bringing it all down. But you're not losing the flavour. You're not losing the smell. You're just making a slightly lighter drink, which is... I know a lot of people, when they order a whiskey at a bar, they put a big dash of water in with it. Or they even ask whoever's behind the bar to put a dash of water in. And they do usually put a big old dash. Red Rover says here, Basic Makers is a bit one-dimensional, but a solid all-purpose bourbon. Sorry, not bourbon. That's the bloody biscuits. Bourbon. I would get Makers 46 for something more refined. Oh, okay. Didn't realise there was a different type of Makers mark. I'll look out for that. Cheers to that, Red Rover. Thank you very much. Makers 46. Make a note of all these. But I will have a bourbon stream soon, hopefully. I will have to gather said bourbon and get something organised. So I will organise that. Like I said, I've got one. I did do the bourbon stream I did last time. I bought myself, I think I might have got, yes, I think I got a couple of miniatures for Christmas. It had, what did it have? Jim Beam. It had Jim Beam and it had Jack Daniels, I think. So I just did Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and this Rock Town that I've got. Is it Rock Town or Little Rock? I know there's a place in Arkansas called Little Rock, isn't there? So I think it's Rock Town. It's called. So yeah, that was the bourbon stream. But like I said, they're all gone. They no longer exist. Because what I was doing originally is I was putting a link from my latest stream. I was linking it to my Facebook page, thinking that, if it's on the Facebook, it's there forever, like everything else on Facebook. But what I didn't realise, it was purely a link. It was just a link. It didn't save the stream onto Facebook. It was just a link back to Twitch. And once they were gone on Twitch, they were gone. So you'll see if you go onto my Facebook page, if you scroll down, you'll find all these streams that I did. But you click content and it's like, this content doesn't exist anymore. And I did actually get in touch with Twitch saying, is there any way of getting these back? They're like, no, we've got no way of saving this much data. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, fine. I'll just have to stream them all over again. Which, is just fine. Fine by me. I get to enjoy all these whiskies again. But, I'll get a bourbon stream going. Definitely. That is a good idea, I think. It's quite a bit stronger than malt whiskey and blended whiskey. Excuse me. Ugh. It's been a long old day. Long old week as well. Gee whiz. It was one of those weeks at work that just went on forever. But we got there. It was good. It was a good week. Busy and good. But tiring. Had to entertain the bosses on Thursday, which is always quite tiring. There you go. We got through it. 4-day week next week. Yes, off on Friday. Get in. 4-day week. Looking forward to it. Get my hair cut on the Friday because it's sort of getting to the stage where it's needing a haircut. They're needing a cut now. God, look at that when I do that. You see my bloody scalp under there. My hair's quite thin, but it's staying there. That's the main thing. It's staying there. It's not disappearing just yet. Touch wood. I'm going hellish grey though. Hellish grey. And it's coming through in the beard at places as well, which is not so clever. But Nevis Dew. Do you know what? A lot of this gets sold in Fort William because tourists, obviously, this time of year, they are now starting to appear big time. There are camper vans and camper vans and camper vans and caravans, and these little tour buses are started up again now as well, which is fine. It brings money into the local economy. We don't mind it, but it's really starting to pick up. So no, it's good. But what I was saying was there'll be a lot of this sold in a year in Fort William, because tourists come and they're like, oh, what's the local whiskey? What's the local whiskey? They say, oh, the Nevis Stew. Oh yeah, I'll take 2 bottles. And it's £20. And okay, in the more touristy shops, probably going to set you back 25 quid. But yeah, they'll sell a lot of it because people are like, oh, that's the local whiskey. I've got to buy the local whiskey. I think whiskey sales in Fort William are quite good anyway. A lot of tourists, especially like American tourists and the Japanese tourists, Chinese tourists, they're all, and a lot of Indian tourists as well. Like before all this kicked off, there was a big influx of Indian tourists to Fort William, and I think to Scotland in general. And they're quite big on their whiskey because they've got a few of their own whiskies actually in India. I can't remember. I think it's called Paul John, is quite a well-known one. I've tried that. It's really good. So yeah, but that's what tourists, when they come to Scotland, obviously they've got to take back a bottle of whiskey. So it just tend to sell quite well. Excuse me. So rude of me. Yawning on stream. Good stuff. It's good. I don't drink a lot of Nevis Stew because it doesn't really flip my switches like other whiskies. But it's good. You know what you're getting with it. It's a good blend. Father-in-law loves it. And it's a whiskey that if you want to mix it with lemonade, Coke, whatever, you don't feel so bad doing it, I know a lot of people drink whiskey with ginger beer or ginger ale. Whiskey and ginger, I think, is a big thing. Doesn't really entice me, because I got a drink made to me once. It was whiskey and Krabby's ginger wine, and I can remember it now. It was like oil and water. The whiskey was at the bottom, and this ginger wine was hovering on the top. But I'd said to this pal, we were cycling, we were stopped for lunch, and we said, let's have a drink before we go. I said to him, surprise me, just whatever. Just, I could pretty much drink anything, even if it's Sambuca. If I have to, I'll drink it. But I says, just whatever, I thought he was just going to get me a pint or something, or a bottle of beer or something like that. But he came back with this little glass with this 2 layers. I was like, what the hell have you bought me here? But no, that's what I said to him. I said, surprise me, but it's got to be something that the person behind the bar has sold today. So, like the most unusual drink, and that he'd sold it that day, and that's what I got. And it's my own bloody fault for saying surprise me, but I did drink it, but it just, all I could taste the rest of the bike ride was that just churning around in my stomach. It was disgusting. Anyway, here we are. Here's the next one. Well, the last whiskey of the stream tonight. It's not a blend, it's a single malt, but we are still under the £35 threshold, which was my threshold for this stream. Every bottle I've shown you, even the Cavossier, I think, is under £35. Now this one is, I think I've got it down, £32 to £35. So it depends what shop you find this on, what deals. You might find it under 35. You might have to buy it for 35 on the dot. But this is a single malt from Speyside. So it's a Speyside single malt, which is, I've had it obviously a few times. Really good. Really, really good. Probably this and Old Pulteney 12-year-old, I would say, would be your best value for money single malts on the market. Full stop. Just, you're getting good whiskey for a reasonable price. Because Old Pulteney will only set you back £32 for a bottle, and it's a 12-year-old single malt. This is not no age statement on this whiskey, but it is a single malt from Speyside. So you're getting pretty good quality stuff. So Tamnavulin. It's from Speyside. And it is made near Aberlour. Aberlour is another good Speyside whiskey. On the Speyside Whiskey Trail that I used to have to travel every Wednesday to go to my previous employer. But I'd never actually spotted where Tamnavulin was. It must have been off one of the side roads I used to drive on. This whiskey, I'd seen this whiskey in the shop, and for some reason always shied away from it. I don't know why. I think the label sort of put me off a little bit. I just thought to myself, oh, it looks like a modern whiskey that somebody's tried to put an old twist on. And I thought, do I really want to buy that? Maybe not. And I never did. Anyway, end of last year, I got kindly given this bottle by our neighbour. I did a few odd jobs for him, and he came round with a bottle of this, which I said to him, no need for that, but he was insistent, so I gladly accepted the bottle of whiskey. And I thought, well, here you go. Here's my chance to try Tamnavulin. So yeah, same impressions with the bottle really as I did in the shop. I was thinking it looks modern, but with an old twist. Especially this bottom label here looks that sort of old-fashioned look to it. Mind my fingers with my bloody biting my nails. It's got that old sort of feel to it. Don't know, but it's quite nice. It's in the standard single malt whiskey bottle, which a lot of whiskies come in. Whoever makes these bottles, I don't know if it says here, whoever makes these bottles making a killing, because most single malt whiskies come in this shape bottle. It's like the classic shape. Yeah. So Tamnavulin. It says it's got some information on the bottle actually. Established. I thought it said here. It says here, Speyside single malt Scotch whisky, double cask matured for a classic Speyside taste, rich, smooth, and mellow. The distillery at Tamnavulin was opened in 1966, so it is relatively new. It's not, wasn't established in 1882 or whatever. On the banks of the River Livet. So Livet is another whiskey. There's actually one behind me that's got Livet in the name. Glenlivet. So it's on the same river as Glenlivet. Deep in the heart of Speyside, the most celebrated whiskey producing region in Scotland. Amber gold in colour, this rich and elegant Speyside single malt whiskey has hints of sweet toffee, honey and marzipan on the nose, with a refreshing pineapple, pear and subtle citrus notes on the palate. Now, if I'd picked up this bottle in the shop, which is what I should have done, and read the back, I would have been quite tempted. But I was judging a book by its cover, as we all do, and thought, no, not buying that whiskey, because to me it looks... I've got to be honest, I thought it looked cheap and nasty. That was my first impression. I thought, that looks cheap and nasty. Somebody's trying too hard. The colour of the whiskey also put me off, because that is quite a dark coloured whiskey. To be a relatively cheap whiskey and be that colour, that makes you think, well, it's just full of colorants. That's all there just for show. Whereas you get a whiskey like this Macallan 12-year-old, and you get that sort of colour, which is darker than this, I would say. What would you say? Yeah, it's darker. And you don't doubt the colour then, because you're like, well, it's Macallan, it's top quality, it's expensive, it's what's the word? Not exclusive, but it's so you see that colour of that whiskey and you don't think twice. You think, oh, well, that's because it's a good quality whiskey. But you see that sort of colour on that sort of price tag, it makes you think, oh, hang on, that looks dodgy. But again, I was proved wrong. So what else can I tell you about Tamnavulin? Yeah, so first released by the distillery since the 1990s. So what do we say? 1966 is when it was established. My bloody hair's wild today. First released by the distillery since 1990s. So they obviously went through a bit of a mothball period where the distillery wasn't producing, wasn't releasing. Bit of a slow. Sounds like the sort of 80s, early 90s might have been a bit slow for them. But they released this like in 2007, sorry. No, I'm talking rubbish. So this is the first release by the distillery since 1990s. It changed hands between Invergordon Distilleries to White and Mackay when it closed soon after. Reopened 2007. Much of the single malt goes to blends, with some casks going for independent bottlings. If you're wondering what an independent bottling is, it's where people like Gordon and MacPhail, I think they're called. Gordon MacPhail, I'm sure it is. These other companies, they buy casks directly from the distillery, and they will then bottle them themselves. So it'll not be in this sort of packaging. It'll be in Gordon MacPhail or there's I had one years ago. Scottish, I can't remember what they're called, but independent bottlings. It's a way of getting quite an expensive whiskey for slightly less money because it's not been bottled by the distillery, so it's gonna be a little bit cheaper. These people have bought these casks in bulk, bottled them themselves with their own labels, their own bottles, and they tend to be more affordable. But you haven't got the kudos of having it, in the Macallan bottle or the Old Pulteney bottle or Annock bottle or Glenlivet. It comes in the independent bottler's bottle. So it's not got as much value, especially if you're looking to invest in whiskey. You want to get it from the distillery, like Macallan, any of these actual distilleries bottlings. That's what's going to hold more value. But there's nothing to say that independent bottlings won't appreciate value, because they will, especially if it's a pretty rare whiskey that no longer being produced. Maybe a change in the recipe or change in not the recipe, you know what I mean, or the distillery's closed, for example. These sort of whiskies can still hold their value quite well. This is the first own expression, right? So this is their first sort of their own bottling. First matured in American oak barrels, then finished off in sherry casks. So that tells you where a lot of this colour has come from. And the colour, by the way, I never actually mentioned, is amber gold. So amber by itself is a dark enough colour in whiskey descriptive terms, but amber gold is like darker than amber by itself. So finished off in sherry casks. So from that, I know straight away this whiskey is going to be on the sweet side, which is great for me because that's what I like in my whiskies. I like them to be sweet, rich. The nose on this whiskey is going to be lots of like fruity notes. It's going to have probably things like toffee, marzipan sort of notes, but generally like those rich, like Christmas pudding, sort of Christmas cake notes to it. So saying that, now plastic top, which is fine. Now if this was worth £60-70, it wouldn't be fine, but because this is £32 to £35, it's fine. The cork, composite cork, which is also fine, it's only costing £32 to £35 a bottle. If this again was a £60 bottle, I would not be letting them away with that. FYI. But there you go. Looks good in the glass. There's my emoji. Well, do my little emoji here. Boom, there you go. There it is. Real is asking, do you ever watch whiskey YouTubers? I have watched a couple. Well, I suppose you could say I'm a whiskey YouTuber just now, seeing as my videos are on YouTube as well. But no, there's a few guys out there, isn't there? There's a couple of guys that do... Oh, I can't remember their name now. There's a few people that do whiskey... what are they called? So you can tell it's getting late here. Whiskey Tribe, Whiskey Dick, great. Whiskey Tribe, I think that I've seen those, Whiskey Tribe. And there was a guy as well that did whiskey reviews a while back, but I don't think he does them anymore. He had a funny name, I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, I do sometimes watch them. I think some of their ideas are quite good about how they describe the whiskey and how they go about it. Their themes are quite good. The only thing is their budget is a hell of a lot bigger than mine, and they've got all the production and the different cameras and the set and all this and the other. All I've got is my radiator with some whiskies on top of it. Obviously radiator's off, and the corner of the kitchen with a blank wall behind me. So I'm a little bit more, what's the word? Bog standard, I suppose. True. These guys are pros. Yeah, exactly. You know, this is what they do for a living. This is what I do for a hobby. So, no, they are good though. They are good. You've got to give it to them. They are good. I like what they do. But yeah, they've got pretty good big budgets about what they can buy and stuff like that. There you go, exactly. That's it. And obviously the dream is someday that maybe we can be professional at what we enjoy as a hobby. You never know. That might be something that, if it comes along, great. If you can be a professional at what your hobby is, hey, off you go. You just got to keep trying. Got to keep trying. Whew. Yeah, so you can tell this whiskey is finished in a sherry cask because it's really rich on the nose. You're getting a real noseful. It's rich, like sort of warm aromas coming up from it. Like apple, toffee, honey, sweetness. It's really good. Just on the side, I study to become a teacher. I do like the job security. Yes, absolutely. You know, my job, pretty secure job. You know, my contract doesn't expire anytime soon. You know, as long as I keep doing the job well, I've got a job. So no, you've got to have job security, especially these days. You know, the job market's so full. You know, hundreds of people going for each position. You have to have a bit of job security and be sure that you're going to be okay every month. You know, I think the people that have got the courage to go out there and just say, right, I'm off, and without having anything else set up, it's pretty courageous, but I would also say pretty risky. But no, if you've got a good job and you enjoy it, you've got to enjoy your job. If you don't enjoy your job, change it. Not change the job, but change the element of your job you don't like. You know, I've had this in the past where I've had maybe too much put on me too quick. Talk to your boss. If you've got a good boss, they will work with you. And if you're worth your salt, they will change the role to suit you, because they'll want to keep you. And it works. It really works. Having an open and honest conversation with your boss works, or it should work. If it doesn't work, you need to get on the phone to the HR department, basically. But no, communication's the best way to get things sorted. If nobody knows you've got a problem, they don't think you've got a problem. Speak about it. It's like anything in this life. Speak about it. A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. So there's my little gem for the night. But yeah, lovely, florally, sort of rich whiskey on the nose here. I work in forestry, I work in forestry, in the harvesting side of forestry, so we're the bad guys that cut the trees down. The whiskey sounds like Glenfiddich 12. Do you know what? It does slightly remind me of Glenfiddich 12. The price tag is definitely a lot less than Glenfiddich 12. It's probably more floral than Glenfiddich 12. It hasn't got the complexity of that classic, Glenfiddich 12. It just smells a little bit simpler, I would say. But no, it's a good call. Let's have a taste. Ooh. It's been a while since I've had this whiskey. And it's always a surprise to me how quick you forget what whiskies taste like. If you've got one in the collection that you really like, well, you've got you can remember roughly what it tastes like. But when you've not had one for a few months, you go to taste it, you realise, oh yeah, I remember this now. Glenfiddich 12 was like floral meadow kind of vibes. Yeah, I think you're right. Glenfiddich, have I still got a little bit of Glenfiddich somewhere? I think I might have finished it. I had a little third of a side. Was it a third or half a bottle of Glenfiddich that got given to me as a Christmas present? God, about 10 years ago. And but I don't think I've got any more of it left. But no, it's good. But yeah, this whiskey, it's fresh on the palate. It's quite mellow, but there's real strong pear notes for this whiskey. So, I don't know if you've ever had pear drops, the sweets, pear drops, tastes just like that. It's amazing. Yes, I've got like 3 tasting things for a couple of euros. Ben Bracken is a whiskey. It's a blended whiskey, commonly found in, I think it's either Lidl or Aldi in the UK. Which obviously, if you're in Germany, you will have those shops, and that's probably where you found your Ben Bracken. I have had a bottle of Ben Bracken and I can vouch for it. It's really good. There you go. You got it in Lidl. We get it in Lidl in the UK too, and it's a good whiskey. It's a good blended whiskey. Obviously, very reasonably priced. I think it's like, well, over here it's maybe 18, 19 pounds for a bottle, maybe 20. It's good. It's a good blend. It's quite mellow, light. Yeah, it's a good blend. So yeah, Ben Bracken, Islay single malt, Highland single malt, and Speyside single malt. I got like 3 tasting things for a couple of euros. What do you mean? Islay single malt, Highland single malt, and Speyside single malt. If you got all of those for €3, you're doing quite well. Islay single malt, Highland single malt, €8, I think. Oh, like a little taster pack thing with a little miniatures. Yes. That's good. That's a good way. Like, I like those miniature sets. I did a stream with what they call Balvenie. I got 3 miniatures in a box. Balvenie. I did the Auchentoshan one as well. If you work it out, it's a little bit of an expensive way to buy whiskey because you're paying about £4 per miniature, which is, if you divided this bottle into all miniatures, each one would set you back maybe £1. But it's a good way of exploring different whiskies. So I'm a big advocate of buying miniatures. I think it's a good way of exploring different whiskies. It's a good way of trying before you buy the full size bottle. If you think, and there's some good shops, especially if you're in a touristy place like we are in Scotland here in Fort William. They have got a selection of all these miniatures, all individual, so you can buy one, this one, that one, this one, and each one's going to cost you £4 or £5, which is, it's fine. And it's a good way of, like, let's say you really want to try, for example, Glenfiddich 18, but you didn't want to spend the whatever it is, £80-90 on a bottle. You can buy a miniature, and if you really, really like it, you can maybe go and buy yourself a full-size bottle. €50 for the 18. Okay, so if it's €50, I don't know, that seems quite cheap for an 18 Glenfiddich. Let me see how much it is on Thinternet. Let's see. Bowmore 12 is €30. That's pretty good. That's like £28 maybe. I don't know what the conversion factor is just now for euros into pounds, but Glenfiddich 18. Okay, yeah. So £85 in the UK here online. £70, £75. Yeah. So actually, it's quite a good deal. 50. So, for example, if we said, let's say £70 to euros, that should be 81. So your €50 for your Glenfiddich 18 is a bargain. I would stock up, and your Bowmore 12 at €30 is a bargain as well. So you've got some good prices there, some really good prices. I don't know, I just got pocket money. I'm a full-time student, lol, can't do that. Well, if you've get yourself a wee job to afford your whiskies. But yeah, no, drinking whiskey, buying whiskies, it's not a cheap game. It's it's quite expensive stuff to buy. But like I always say, whiskies last quite a long time in the bottle. It's like you buy a bottle of wine for, like, let's say, I don't know, how much do you buy a bottle of wine for? Let's say £12. But like that bottle is only going to last you one night. So a couple of bottles of wine equals one bottle of whiskey, and your bottle of whiskey is going to last you months and months and months. So once I got my job, I will go crazy. Yeah, that's it. That's what I did. I think when I first got my first proper job, I went out and bought myself a couple of good whiskies, because you can afford to. So it's your little treat. And like I said, they last a long time. I think the longest I kept a bottle of whiskey going for was about 5-6 years, and I think that bottle cost me about £70. So, cooled white wine is amazing. Yeah, like I've recently got into white wine a bit more. I was never really into it. I preferred red wine, but no, white. There's some really good white wines out there. In Germany and more the south, you get 1 litre of wine for €2 to €3. I buy 1 to 2 for the warm-up drinking, and I'm set. With a hell of a hangover in the morning, I'm sure. Because if you're anything like me, wine in big quantities equals massive hangover. That's what I find. But yeah, pear, peaches, sort of creamy, but it's cheap. It's quite a nice creamy whiskey, this. It's like, coats the mouth really well. It's quite sweet. Like Demerara sugar, that sort of burnt sugar, not burnt sugar, but that sort of dark brown sugar, Demerara type sugar sort of flavours. So quite sweet again. It's nice. The finish is quite rich, but smooth, and like quite refreshing. Really, it's like quite a nice whiskey. It's not heavy at all. Like you drink it and it's nice. It just sort of entices you to get another little sip on the go, you know. Before I finish it, let's put a couple of drops of water in. One, we didn't hear that because it went down the glass. Two, see what a little bit of water's done. It's not really changed the smell of the whiskey. Nope. Now remember what I said about the blended whiskies. You put water in with a blended whiskey, it tends to dull it down quite a lot for not a lot of water. This being a single malt, less effect on a single malt with a bit of water. On the nose, that is. Now let's see if it's changed the palate, the taste of it at all. I think, to be honest, it's much the same. It's maybe made it a little bit spicy, a little bit more sort of peppery on the tongue, but otherwise much the same flavours. You're still getting those pear notes, sweetness, that sort of Demerara sugar flavour, and the finish is much the same. Quite rich, quite smooth. Just it's really a classic. It's really a classic single malt. This is classic Speyside single malt. And actually, I found something online. It says it's described as a signature Speyside malt, which I think is true. If you've got a friend that likes Speyside whiskies and you want to get him a wee present, him or her, they like Speyside whiskies. You want to get them something that's not too expensive, but something that they like. Tam na Bhulin is a good call. Available in all your supermarkets for, like I said, £32 to £35. I'm sure you can afford that on your best friend if he likes whiskey or she likes whiskey. What are Speyside whiskies? What makes them special? So Speyside is a region of Scotland. And again, if we go on to the Dramshare website, Dramshare Facebook page even, what am I saying? There's a map of the different regions of Scotland. So Speyside is this one over here. Yeah, so Fort William is just down here. So we're in the Highland region, the biggest region. You've got Lowlands down here. Highlands, Speyside. Islands are any island that's not Islay. So you see Islay there, the blue. Islay has got its own classification. And then Campbelltown, the bottom of Mull of Kintyre here, that dark colour, that has its own classification. But any island that makes whiskey, including Orkney at the top here, there's Skye, there's Mull, they have their own thing. So Speyside's over here, and Speyside is known for its whiskey production because it's got loads of distilleries, and it's called Speyside because the River Spey is where they get their water from. So Speyside means that these distilleries are at the side of the River Spey. What makes them special? Basically, there's a lot of history of distilleries in Speyside, and they've been doing it a long time. They know what they're doing. A long history of whiskey producing, right the way back to where people had secret stills up in the mountains of Scotland up there, and they would hide them from people so they didn't get their whiskey stolen, or they didn't get arrested by the police. because it was illegal to it's basically like moonshine, like they do out in America. But yeah, what makes it special? It's just, yeah, the wealth of knowledge and history in the region, and they are known for a certain style of whiskey, which is basically rich, usually on the sort of dark side of the colour, quite rich, full of flavour, quite complex, just a real good quality whiskey. And most of the distilleries in Speyside produce just that really good quality whiskey. And it tends to be the region of whiskey that people tend to settle on. So when you start drinking whiskey, you normally go into your lowland whiskies, which are quite light and sort of grassy, easy to drink. And your natural next step is Speyside. Speyside or Highland whiskies. But Speyside has this draw that people sort of, they think, oh, it's got this mystique about it. It's a bit like, let's say, Ferrari and Fiat. Yeah, Ferraris and Fiats are made in the same country, but Ferrari has got this, obviously, top end, top of the line, luxury feel to it, but Fiat is more day to day. So it's just got a bit of a name for itself. So that's my sort of understanding of Speyside and what makes it special. And I particularly like Speyside whiskies, so I have a soft spot for Speyside. So I'm a little bit biased, I must admit. But yeah, a lot of Highland whiskies taste just like Speyside whiskies, but they're called Highland because they're not in the Speyside region. Then when you start looking at distilleries like island distilleries like Highland Park and Jura, Talisker, because they're made on an island, they're usually much closer to the sea, so you've got an influence of the sea with a lot of those whiskies. Now I had some good blended whiskies, but damn, my biggest disappointment was Dewar's 12. Yes, Highland Park 12 is great. Dewar's 12, I think I've tried Dewar's 12, but I've never had a bottle. Yeah, some of these blends, I know where Dewar's is made, and let's just say it's not exactly picturesque. It's in quite a rough part of Glasgow, which, every place has got its rough areas, but yeah, it's basically a big factory. They make Dewar's 12, and I suppose, there's other blends that are made in similar, like White Mackay, for example, is made most likely in a big factory just outside of a city somewhere, but I like it. It's like similar to Johnny Walker, but less only. You could taste that it's better, but the rest was just nothing. Oily, okay, yeah, but less oily. Okay, that's interesting. Johnny Walker, that's another whiskey I've never really had a bottle of Johnny Walker. I think I've tried it in the past. So you're saying it's less oily than Johnny Walker. That's interesting. So it's less rich. Like you say, you could taste that it's better, but the rest was just nothing. Okay. Makes sense. Good descriptions. Good descriptions. Right, Red Label is super oily. Yeah, I've never really tried them. I think I might have tried the Black Label once, but that's about it. Maybe Green Label. I don't know. Not a big fan of Johnny Walker. Just I think some people get into Johnny Walker big time and they're big fans, but I've never really got into it. No, so that's it. Oh, we're getting close to 2 hours streamed here. But, yeah, hope you guys are enjoying the stream. I'm going to see if one of my pals is still streaming. He's called, his username is Dog Bandit. 94. And he is still streaming. So I might... Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Real. Good to see you. Hopefully see you next time. Yeah, I'll maybe do a little... what do you call it? I'm getting all excited because I've not done this for a while. It's like / what's it called? Raid, isn't it? Raid. Dog Bandit 94. See how this goes. Right, guys, I'm going to leave you with my friend Ryan, who's streaming some games and stuff just now. So see what you think of him. Give him a wee follow if you like what he's doing. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. So thank you very much for joining the stream. Cheers, good health, and look after yourselves. And we'll catch you next time. So take care. Cheers. Bye bye. Oh, it doesn't even flip. I've typed it wrong. Hang on. Raid. Oh, it's / raid. Dog Bandit 94. Try again. Valid using it. Don't know what's going on here, guys. Hang with me. Oh, it's Dog Tag Bandit. Raid. Dog Bandit 94. See how it goes. One viewer. Do you know what? I'll not even bother because I thought I had more than one viewer. Who have we got here? You see, we've got a few people. Yeah. Let's raid him. It's you. Hang on. You're still here, Real. I'll hang on. I'll try it again. Dog Tag Bandit 94. Right. Let's see if it works. Oh. I'm not good at this. I will get there. Raid. Dog Tag Bandit 94. Right, it's worked. Good luck, Real. See how you get on with Ryan. Tell him that I was saying hello. Right, thanks everyone. Cheers. Bye bye.